Hi Brenda Guides, this is Katie, and today we're going to do an overview of the K2 Conquer mode for reading. Here's a suggested breakdown of how this time should be spent. 20 or 30 minutes doing the treasure hunt reading workbook, and 15 to 20 minutes doing the online support tool, Lexia Core 5. You can adjust these times depending on what your students need and their attention spans. Just do what is best for your students, but these are the suggested times that we think will serve most kids' needs. So the purpose of teaching reading and writing is to equip learners with the skills they will need to access all other information going forward. If you think about it, when you can read really well, you can learn anything. You can learn history, you can learn math, you can learn science, anything. So we really want to give these kids super solid foundational skills in reading and writing so that they can learn through reading and that they can express themselves through writing. At this age, we like to do this with less technology, and it's really important for them to be doing things in real life with their hands so they develop fine motor skills, they develop handwriting, and it's healthy for them to be reading real books, not just reading things on a screen. So the tools that we use to do this, it's called Treasure Hunt Reading. We developed this in-house, and there are 3 components to it: a workbook, some paper readers that the kids read and illustrate themselves, and then some online videos, which I'll show you in just a minute. There will be a more in-depth training video on how to use treasure hunt reading. This is just an overview of how to spend this Conquer time, so we'll just hit some high points quickly. The first thing we're going to talk about is how to make goals for Conquer time. And I'm going to flip forward for a second. Oh, that's really blurry for some reason, but maybe you can read it. So there's this part. Each kid will get a card. This will be a laminated card that's a half sheet of paper, and they will tape it to their computer. So anytime they are about to do Conquer time, they'll have their computer open and they'll have this card out. And you can have a little goals meeting where they write their name and their date every day. It's really important that they're practicing writing their name and the date every day. And then these are the 4 things they'll be doing in Conquer time. So this is a little symbol that matches their workbook. This is the cover of their workbook. So they'll learn to identify this picture with, okay, this is workbook time. And the question is, what lesson will you be working on today? So they'll flip forward to where they are in the workbook, and they'll say, oh, today looks like I'm gonna learn about SH. And so on this little line, they'll write SH. Or if they're doing the letter D, they'll write D, and that's what they're gonna work on. It's not expected that they're going to master something every day in this program. They totally can. They can move as quickly or as slowly as they want. There's no expectation for a certain pace. So that's why I didn't say master. I just want to know what they're going to be working on, because it might take them a few days to pass something off, which is totally fine. And we'll come back to that in a minute. So this is treasure hunt reading. When you get your workbooks, this is what they'll look like. And inside there's a map, and along the map, it starts off with all of the letters and then moves into the phonograms. And you can see that there's different obstacles, like, oh, you're going this way, but there's a bear, you got to turn. And oh no, there's a tornado, we got to go this way. This way is blocked. And they're always trying to get to this treasure. And so every time they master something, there's a lesson for each one of these circles. Every time they master something, they color this in. So that as they color it in, they move along this path to get to the treasure. And here's another tracker sheet on the back of that map. Every time they read a book, they color in a book on their bookshelf. Every time they learn a rule, they color in a key. Every time they learn a group of sight words, they color in some binoculars. And all of this is explained to them in the student training video, but it's really important that you as the guide understand all of this, because they're going to forget. They already learned in the video, and you'll be there to lovingly remind them. This is a sample of one of the workbook pages. All of these blue boxes here, these are the instructions, and I will go over all of these instructions for them on their video. So they'll open up their workbook, and the first thing they'll do, they'll have their workbook and their computer open to a bookmarked page full of these little links to videos, and those are their lessons. So you don't have to provide any lessons. It's all done through this through the videos and the workbook. So they'll click video number 1, they'll watch the lesson about A, I'll walk them through a tracing activity. That's why this says tracing practice up here. And then I'll go over all of these activities, but I just put these instructions in blue boxes here. So if a child forgets or needs your help, you can just look at the blue box and know what they're supposed to do, but they should be getting that information from the video. So you can either read it to them to remind them, or you can say, go back and watch the video again, and it'll tell you what to do. And then at the end, they can check off this box that says, I can remember the short A sound every time I see an A, and then turn to your treasure map and color in the A. So it's really important that you, as the guide, don't allow a student to move on until they've really mastered this information. And if they are having a hard time remembering things, in the back of their workbook, there are some additional activities that you can help them get going on so that they can practice as much as they need to master things. And then once you feel they've mastered it and once they feel they've mastered it, they can check that off and color it in. Here's another sample page. When things get more advanced, they start looking in real books and listening when you're reading out loud to them or their parents are reading out loud to them to collect words that match these different sounds. And there are also these books that they read, and they can check those books off and color in a book on their bookshelf. There's these activities that they can do to practice the sounds they're learning, all sorts of things. This is what the books they'll get look like. And it's kind of interesting because they don't have any pictures. They're very simple. And we did that on purpose because a lot of times kids will be reading books and looking at the picture and guessing what the words say because of what the picture is. And this doesn't actually help them learn to read. It's kind of becomes a distraction actually, and encourages them to guess instead of actually read the word. And not only is this bad reading, but it's going to drive you crazy if they're just guessing. So we designed these books to not have any pictures, and what happens is the child reads through the book once, they read the book to an adult, and then the adult will initial in this first box. And then they're going to read it again, and the second adult or the same adult will initial it again. So they'll have 2 signatures, and then they're allowed to illustrate the book themselves. So they're supposed to read the text and then draw a picture that matches the text. So if in the text it says that Josh's ship was red, they should be drawing a red ship. So it's also kind of a check on comprehension, because if they didn't really understand what they're reading, then their picture is not going to match the text, and you'll know that there's a problem. They can either read these books at home. I'm going to create a parent training video for this program, so you'll have some support from home, hopefully. And I will show the parents how to help their children read these books and how to pass them off and draw the pictures and everything. So they should be reading these books ideally at home to their parents and then bringing them back to you. They could draw the pictures during Concord time, but it would be tricky as a guide to have 5, 6, 7 kids all trying to read these books to you at the same time. So we're really hoping that they can do this at home. If for some reason you don't feel this is happening at home, try to make time for it in class or talk to the parent about how important it is, because it's a big part of the program, and we don't want any kids being shortchanged because they're not really getting this experience to apply all of the knowledge that they're learning in their workbook and through the videos to actual reading. So it's probably like the most important part of the program. So really make sure it happens and that it's happening correctly. And if you need any support or help in how to make that happen, reach out to us and we can work with you. So Lexia Core 5 is the reading support tool that we use, online reading support tool. So they'll be on their computers when they're working on Lexia. I will make a more in-depth video about how to access Lexia, how to put your students in and access all of the data and things like that. But this is just a quick overview. They're only going to spend like 15, 20 minutes a day on it. They can spend more time on it if they are a more advanced reader. It will go through 8th grade, so your kids can get on this and just kind of cruise. And if you have older kids that you're working with in the 3rd through 8th group and they are struggling with reading, you can also use this program. It's free for any Prenda student. Is totally able to utilize this tool. It's also a good idea to divide your group's time. So put half your group on the workbook and then put half your kids on Lexia. And so you'll be able to help your kids on the workbook more and have fewer kids. And then you can switch those groups when they're ready to rotate, and you'll just have a smaller group that you're working with. Even though they should be able to pretty much do the treasure hunt workbook by themselves, they'll still need some help. Let's see. This is what Lexia looks like when they log in, and the way that they make Conquer goals in this program is units. So this circle will gradually fill up with little pieces. There we go. So these are the pieces. The Lexia calls them units, but that's kind of a hard word for kids, so we just call them pieces. And every time they do an activity, they'll get a little piece. And these are all different reading skills that they're practicing. And when they fill up these, so these circles here, these have been completed. They've filled up all of the pieces, and then they turn into these circles. And this is one that's in progress. And once they've completed all of these, it opens up the second half of the level, and they can do it again. And then they'll advance to the next level, and they'll get different words and different games and a different environment. And that's really fun and motivating for them. So that's how they make goals. How many pieces in Lexia will you earn today? And they'll kind of figure that out by experience, like, oh, like 2 is a lot of work for me to do, or I could do 4. They'll just kind of figure that out as they play. And the first thing Lexia is going to do is give them a little assessment. It will just feel like they're playing a game, and you don't need to tell them that they're taking an assessment. They'll just start playing, and then that's where Lexia will like place them where they need to be according to their knowledge, and just work with them wherever they are. So that's super helpful. And that is it for reading. If you have any questions, reach out to your guide guru, and we're happy to help you in any way we can. Thanks.